Hello everybody and welcome back to episode number 12 here in the Happy Space Prison. We are starting back up right where we left off. Today goals are to work our way towards plastic and steel. Couple things we need to do with that. I want to work with Drecos for plastic this time, and I want to get into oil so I can start making steel. I could technically do it without getting into the oil biome, but I have access to oil, so I might as well go down there and do that. So first things first, though, we are out of sedimentary rock completely. So what we're going to do to solve that issue is we're going to do some building up here. So normally when I build 4 layers. When I'm doing mining out of an area, I do 3. And the reason for that is because I want to be able to remove the ladders when I'm done. And duplicants will be able to reach up and remove the ladders on the level above them if they're 3 apart. And so we're going to just do it like this. I'm going to send ladders all the way across this area to the edge of this slime biome that we're going to be coring out. We're going to do that in both directions as well. And that's going to allow us to get some infrastructure set up first. The duplicants will just dig where they're able to get certain ladders in place, and then we'll just expand the digging zone out farther as we go. I keep doing the wrong row. And so we're just going to keep doing this on all the levels, and that way we can get around to all the places we need to. Nobody should get trapped. And so if we do the ladders first, that'll help. The other thing we'll do is set the priority on the ladders a little bit higher once I have them all in place for the build commands. And what that'll do is it will allow as they're digging through the area, the duplicants will focus on getting ladders. Let's do it like that. Oh, so before we do that, let's change the priority to 6 for all construction in this area. So now, when I issue these dig commands, and we're going to go from here all the way up to here, digging out everything, and we're going to be careful to cancel that tile on our volcano, and we'll do it here. All the dig commands will have a priority of 5, but the ladders will have a priority of 6. So as they dig across, and they make it so that they can reach a place where they're going to need to build ladders, the ladders will take priority, which means they will build the ladders first, and they should not get trapped anywhere. A lot of times if they're digging first, they'll dig through, they'll dig over here, then they'll be digging around this area, dig these blocks, and now they can't get back down. This way, the ladders are all priority, as any ladders they can reach should get built first, and then as they dig and expose more ladders, they'll build more ladders. Also, we're able to build these ladders from where we're standing here, so later when we go to deconstruct them, we'll be able to take them off, but right now, from here, they can reach up and build the ladders for the level above, which is really helpful in making sure nobody gets stuck. The other thing I want to do here is build a roof across this saltwater pond, because I don't want stuff falling down in there. I'm just going to do it like that, take that off. This is no longer needed, so we're going to remove that. And that should be good. We have a bunch of commands issued here. We'll just let them do the digging and get all that collected up for us and delivered to our hatches. Let things run for a while, and I finished up a bunch of queued orders. So we cleared out this area here and this swamp over here. I also set up a bunch of deodorizers, so we're getting most of the polluted oxygen cleared out, which is nice. This is all oxygen now, a few little spots, but mostly it's cleared. We still have some deodorizers running down here at the bottom to clear things out. But so we have a nice area here that's all oxygen distributed nice and evenly. Hydrogen is collected up at the top. I sealed off the ice biome up here. And I also did a sweep command to sweep almost all the debris. We have a bunch down here we can work on next. I'm just doing like a regular sweep command, and then anytime I need to do something else, I just kind of increase the priority. I might do a lower level sweep command so that it's just run kind of in the background. But mostly we're just getting everything sorted and put away. So the next project I want to work on, I think is getting this area here cleared up a little bit, because I want to expand the base out a little bit to put some more critter farms inside. I want to work on the Drecos, because I want to do plastic and I want to do steel. And in the past, I've always just done plastic by collecting oil, turning it into petroleum, and then making plastic that way, which is a fine way to do it. But I've never really gotten into doing Drecos, and we have a bunch of them on the map. So I want to set up a system with that. And thinking of the Dreco farm, I've been giving it a lot of thought about how I want to do it. I could set up a system where I have a pit planted tiles so that we can do mealwood. But when you do the wild plants, let's just bring up mealwood just to take a look at it and kind of go over what we're doing. The mealwood, when you plant it, wild plant it, it takes 12 cycles instead of 3 for it to grow, which means that you need, for every Dreco that you want to feed, you need 4 plants, because they eat 25% of it. So if we do planted mealwood, then we can get away with having just 1 plant per Dreco, which means that if we want to make a regular sized farm where we have 7 Drecos in it, all we need to do is have 7 plants that are planted. Now those plants will consume dirt at 10 kilograms per cycle. If we have our pips providing the dirt, pips, when they eat food, if we look here, we see that when they eat, either with thimbleweed or with the arbor tree, they provide 20 kilograms per cycle, which means that for each of the plants that we need to have for our mealwood, as they're going to consume 10 kilograms per cycle, we can have 2 of these for each pip. And so if we're going to continue to have 7 pips, that means we can support 14 mealwood plants, which means we'll have enough dirt from 1 pip ranch to supply the dirt that we need for the for 2 Dreco farms. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to create this kind of a sustainable cycle. I also want to set up a farm for the cuddle pips. The cuddle pips don't provide as much resources, but I want to have them. And also the eggs I'm mostly getting cuddle pip eggs, because these guys are eating thimbleweed for right now. I did get from our drop somewhere here. See if I can see it. Actually, I'll probably just look in here. I did get an arbor acorn, I think. I got 1 from our drop pod. And so it's only 1, but it's enough to get us started on growing some arbor trees. So I think I might have to shift some things around in this farm in order to get that to work. Actually, no, I think that this would work. I just need 3 tiles wide for a tree, so I might take off these thimbleweeds and plant the arbor tree here. The problem is these other thimbleweeds are going to block my progress, but we'll get there. And then once we get the arbor tree planted, we can collect some more seeds and do some more arbor trees as well. So we have a lot of work to do as far as getting everything set up for these farms, but I need some more space to do it. And so the first thing is we have this natural gas geyser here. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to tame this, and we're going to set up some storage for natural gas, and that way we can close this off and expand the base up a little bit, and do some planning on where we're going to get all of our critters to fit in here. So what we're doing here is building out a combination collection room and storage room. So I'm going to put a room in here that'll store our natural gas infinitely, which means that we can pump it from here into here, and this will store it, and then we can have pumps in here that send it out. The goal is to get it so that this room stays under pressured, so that while this goes active, it can keep pumping gas. Before we start moving these gases around, it's really important that we get everything swept out of this area. Well, not necessarily everything, but there are things in here that will off gas. So like the polluted dirt, if we don't take that out of here and then we pump all this gas from here into the storage room, then that'll start off-gassing, and we'll get polluted oxygen mixed in with our natural gas. Right now, it's all natural gas, and that's where we want it to stay. So we're filling up this liquid lock here so that we can get in here. We're going to put another one in here in between the two just to make it so the pressure stays the same. And then when we're done, eventually we'll close this one off. I used airflow tile for the one side of the liquid lock just to give a little more room for the gas in here to expand into. And now we're going to start working on just getting the pumps ready. We're not going to power them until we have all this stuff swept out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pump here. And then in this room, we're going to put 2 pumps. We're going to do 4 vents across the bottom here, just so I have space to connect multiple inputs, because I do have another natural gas geyser over here that I eventually want to tame and send over here to storage. For the piping, since this is all going to be internal, it's just going to be regular piping. We don't need anything insulated. And I'm going to connect this to 2 of those. The reason I do 2 is because when I put down the water, we put a tiny bit of water to keep the vents so that they'll keep running. And then every once in a while, it will be enough pressure to push the water out of the way and the vent will stop. But that means this one can allow it through and it'll push the water back. That's the reason we do it that way. So what we need is to go down here where you need a 200 kilogram bottle of water. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not right. Let's sweep that. We need a 2 or 4 kilogram bottle of water. We want 1 kilogram per tile on that floor where we have those 4 spaces. So that's what we want to get. We'll get that in a second. We're going to finish building everything in here. As far as this goes, we're going to do piping that goes between these 2, and it's going to come out, and we're going to run down this way, and then eventually we'll run that down to our gas or our range down here, our gas range, because we're going to use our natural gas to provide ourselves with some cooking fuel. So let's go, for now, let's just connect it up like this so we can start getting it done right away. We'll probably change that piping up once we get this room taken care of, but that'll allow us to get it connected. We also want to set up some automation. So for this, we want to have a hydro sensor in this room and one in this room. And we're going to connect them with wires to our pumps. Oops. There we go. And what these are for is we want to make sure we maintain pressure. In this room, if the pressure, we'll just pump the gas out if the pressure goes over a certain amount. That way this can always run. And the idea then is just to kind of balance out the temperature, because the gas comes out of here at a fairly high rate, 150 degrees. So if there's already some gas in there, the temperatures will balance. And it's not a big deal. We're not really worried about the temperature of gases in here. We just don't want it to overheat to cause issues for our pumps. The pumps are going to be made out of gold, which means they can handle temperatures that are pretty high. So it's not that big of a deal. It should be fine. But we just want to be careful. This one, we'll regulate how much gas we leave in this room. And again, we could empty this room out because we're going to get this so it's sealed, and it will, if it goes to a vacuum, it'll be fine. But I do want to be able to control how much gas I have, so I'll put a sensor in ahead of time. So now we have pretty much everything built except for the piping. We need to run power through into here, so let's work on that real quick. We'll just use gold because it's what we have at the moment. We may leave the vents or the airlocks set up just so we can get in and out to make changes to that before we're done. But we can always just seal this up with the airlock put in place, and then come back for it later and change that. But power will go there. We'll connect that down in just a little bit. And I think that's everything that we're going to need in here. We just need to get the water in here to finish the seals. We'll have to put another tile right here so that that'll be sealed. And then we'll need to get water in here to create the infinite pumps or the infinite vents and get everything cleaned out. And then the last thing we're going to do is I'm just going to put one pump down here, and I'm going to run a gas line from here up to here, and that will allow this one to pump this room out. And again, we'll wait until we get rid of the off-gassing stuff down here, because we want to just get all this natural gas into storage before we break down all the rest of this. But when we're done, the footprint will be just this section here, and it will make it so that we have a nice minimal space taken up for the natural gas, and the natural gas will provide us with gas for our base, and we can also use it for some excess power. We only have 2 natural gas geysers, and they're not going to generate a ton, so it might be better to just use these as a source for our cooking and things like that. And then when we get into natural gas later with doing like a sour gas boiler, then we'd have plenty of natural gas. We don't need the natural gas for power for our base, so we might as well just save it for what we do need it for. We are finished with the setup here in our gas storage. So our natural gas is being stored. We have it being pumped out when there is a need for it, and I set it to maximum. Just let it fill up. It's already way over that because this had been sitting for so long. And now this is able to run constantly because we keep the pressure low. And so we have 87 cycles that it's going to be active. Every time it erupts, this pump is going to pump out fast enough that this won't ever overpressurize, and we'll get that full 325 grams per second, which means we'll end up with that average output around 98.5. Technically, it always falls a little less than that because there's a little bit of a thing where when the geyser first starts, it is overpressure even in a vacuum, like no matter what, for like a half a second. So it's always a little less than this number. So if you're doing math based on that, always add in a little extra to make sure you have enough. But this would be enough to run 1 natural gas generator if we wanted to. But we don't really need that right now. We still have tons of hydrogen, and we're not even producing it right now because we have so much in storage. So I'm not going to worry about using it for that. I'm going to save this particular natural gas just for cooking. And so I've also been using that down here. I've gone through all the recipes. Mushroom wraps, I just made a handful of them. Just because I wanted to have them in storage in case I had a reason for wanting them. I made 43,000. I have 1 more in queue. I don't know if it's ever going to make that one because mushroom and lettuce, fried mushroom and lettuce, which are the ones here, are also needed for mushroom quiche, and that's better. I also don't have a source for mushrooms. We're just getting mushrooms that are around the map still. But now we know like what we need if we want to set up different things. And I just made the rest of the foods infinite. We're still only eating barbecue. That's all I have set up to eat. And then the things that we're making, we're storing so that I can turn them on if we need them because they're much better quality. So if we look at the foods here, the spicy tofu, the only ones we got are ones that came out of the printer because I do not have the tofu from the nosh beans, but pepper bread I can make, which is a superb quality food, which gives us 16 morale. Mushroom quiche, we made what we could with the fried mushroom we had and the omelets that we had. Some of the omelets came from the printer, some of them came from eggs that had cracked. And then the frost burgers we can make because we have lettuce that we've picked up around the map. And so I just made some just to keep them stored. That way we have them if we have a use for them. And we're making surf and turf, which is, it's not quite as good as the other ones. Oh, kicked off there. It's only morale plus 12, but it's better than our barbecue. So if we have a reason why we need somebody to be getting a little morale boost because they're doing something, I will have that in storage. And we're just basically whatever cooked seafood we have comes from the natural eggs on the map, or natural pakus on the map, and we're just converting all that cooked seafood into surf and turf, and we're going to continue to eat the barbecue and just store all that stuff because we can store it forever. So we might as well make it. We'll have it, and you know, we can do it. In the future, we'll set up farms for all the ingredients so that we can make all the things if we want, if we have reason for that. So that should be good for that. We're going to work on dismantling this area down here underneath now that we've gotten the gases out of these lines, mostly. One little bit left to get there. And we're just going to take down all of our stuff here, and we'll seal this up. I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the liquid locks, and I'm going to put in a mechanized airlock. That way I can just control that nobody goes in there, and then if I need them to go in, I can unlock it for them to go through. I think that'll be a good way to do it. And let's clean up what is left when we're done, so this project is finished. So now I want to dismantle all this. We're going to add another floor to our base like I talked about, and we'll get started on doing some more critter ranching stuff. I decided that since time was kind of limited in the remainder of the episode, I was just going to do some stuff around the base and improve some things and then show you what we're doing. So first things first, I changed our kitchen up just a little bit. I got a shovel pup out of our printing pod, and so I put in a little cage for him here. I'm not going to do anything fancy with them right now. I don't know if I will at all. I might just, anytime I get them from the printing pod, add to our little cage here. So basically the shovel is inside this room where it cannot move. Shovels will stay alive long enough to lay another egg without being fed. So you can do, wild starvation farming. So when a shovel dies, you get 16,000 meat calories out of it, which we can turn into, I think that's 20,000 barbecue from each one. And every time that a new one, comes in, it will lay one egg and then it will be gone. So it'll just keep the population going. I don't know quite how long it takes for it to lay the egg with when it's wild, but we'll be able to keep the population steady. So as we get more, we can just put them in here wild, and they'll be fine. I put it right here specifically because then this sweeper can reach in there, so any meat that goes in there will automatically get put right into our grill or into storage to be used and turned into barbecue. So that is exactly what we wanted. We want this to be able to just supplement our food supply. If we get enough shovels, eventually that could be our entire food supply, because 20,000 calories of barbecue from each one of them is a decent amount, and we get enough of them in there, we can stop doing our hatches to the level we are. We'll just keep an eye on our food. We're over 2 million food, so I might reduce our hatch population in a little while, because we're running low on sedimentary rock again, and I don't really want to use up all of our igneous rock. But I do have a lot more places where I can get sedimentary rock, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The other things I've changed is I kind of expanded the base out a little bit to fit that in, which made us have space for the spice grinder. I just made one surf and turf that has seasoning on it just to try it out, but basically we have, with some extra things, we can create some food that we can feed to somebody if we need some extra boosts. So this what makes it so that we can increase our operating skill so that we can do a little better with that. This one increases strength for our duplicants. This one makes piloting a boost to piloting. So just different things we can do. Freshener makes it so that we slow down the decomposition of foods. I'm not super worried about that one because we have it here, but it might be useful in a circumstance. But either way, it's there, and that also means we now have a kitchen, which is just kind of cool to have another room that we have in our base. I also moved our storage room over so that fits in kind of nice and tight there. It also means that any time that the eggs from the shovels crack, it automatically puts the eggs into storage, or the egg shells into storage. Right now I have these sweepers both working to empty our old storage back into the new one, and then we'll remove that. I put in a critter pickup, so anytime we get critters in through the printing pod, if it's one of the ones we already have a place to store them, I just set it here and it will automatically send them out to where they need to go. That way we don't have critters still building in here. Shine bugs and puffs, I don't have anywhere to go for them yet, so they're still just hanging out here by the printing pod. I changed up all of our plumbing for our coolant loop. We had a bunch of radiant pipe, which was to specifically target some hotter areas and cool the thing down. Now that the base is at a decent temperature, just running our coolant loop through in regular pipes is enough to keep it nice and cool. So I just did it so that I have a pipe going through every floor, pretty much. I don't have one through in this section. But we can now tap into that pretty much anywhere to spot cool things, but also this just radiantly cools the base. It's like having, piping run through your flooring that keeps your house warm. Pretty nice. And then it's just one loop instead of a double loop, and it comes back and it goes through. Just some minor improvements to it. Nothing too crazy. I've also started expanding up here to the area that we cleared out underneath our natural gas system. I'm not quite sure how I want to do this. I think I'm going to incorporate this into the base, and we may expand out even farther. But for now, this gives us the space we need to work on more critter ranches in our next episode. We're gonna put them in here. Like I said, I might make some changes. I want to expand to 4 more duplicates soon. So I do have enough space to put in 4 more beds here. I need to find a place to put in some mess tables. And we need to consider what we're going to do with our ranches. I think for now, I'm actually just going to disable this one. And take it so that we don't have any in here, because aside from the fact that we now have shovel giving us a tiny little bit of food, and that will increase as we get more shovels, we also have some meat coming in from the pips. We're going to have some meat coming in from the drecos, so we don't need to have quite so many hatches running, and since we're running low on food for them, that's probably a good idea to reduce it. So, this pip needs to go back home too, because he was in. I had to replace one of these tiles because of a mistake I made with piping. I moved our thermosensor here. I can actually get rid of this one now. So what I want to do is copy this setting to this, and then this one we're going to deconstruct, and we'll take off the other part of the line so that we can, the goal is to make it so there's nothing up here in the space above here, because we want to use that for building. And this is kind of nice and central to the base, so the base stays at a nice 27 degrees. You can see it's nice and cool, except for here, because we have like hot stuff coming into our storage, and it's still not quite cooled down. I might have to put in a little more cooling there. Let's do a radiant pipe that goes right in here, and then I'll connect up some of our regular piping to that, and that way, though, when the coolant comes by, it will just hit this spot a little harder to slowly cool it down, and then this stuff is going to be all added into here, and then we'll get rid of that water, so that won't be an issue. Do need to make sure everything gets swept up from in here, so we're doing good with that. Like I said, we have lots of space to expand our base now, so we can go with that. I think the next step is the Dreco farming, and I want to do a Cuddle Pup farm, because I have Cuddle Pips, I have a ton of them as far as eggs, so I want to set up a farm for them. I don't know if they're going to be super useful for what we're going to do. They do lullaby eggs. They give their own buff. It's not lullabied, but it also helps with the eggs growing faster. So I might try to find a way to use them in the ranch here, or in the nursery. Could be kind of fun. So we'll look into that. But we're doing well. I'm working on raising up this section here where I'm currently storing the Drecos temporarily, just so I can have space to get through here while we're expanding. So that's what this is about. I'm building the floor up. It's slowly condensing everything up into one space. But this is just where I'm dropping off all the Drecos as we explore the map, so that we can keep some of them alive in here. There's some crops for them. I sealed off a section here in the ice biome to try to cool things down, but it looks like we're still getting a lot of chill through in here. So I think what I'll do, let's put an insulated tile there. Let's see if that helps. The abyssalite should be enough to keep it cool, keep the cool from transferring. It may just be that this is just radiant cool that came through that breach before we sealed it up. Not quite sure. But we'll just have to let it go and see what happens, and go from there. So the other things I want to work on are changing up the coolant system. I have an idea down here on how to get more life out of this cold biome before we go into active cooling. We want to do the critters, and then we're going to finally break in to get into crude oil and work with that. A lot of things to come, a lot more to do, but we're making great progress, and things are looking pretty nice so far. So I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.